Okay, welcome to Thursdays with Franco, where we talk about what's possible with data, especially with capabilities like autonomous, Apex, analytics, and general app dev. As always, we've got a variety of people to help the conversations occur. Hey, Jason. Hey, Stuart.
Hi, Franco. Good to see you. Hey, Stuart, how's things been? You did say it's wet.
Yeah, well, it's no, the sun is out, but it's damp, so everything's damp. So and the older you get, the more damp you seem to feel. I don't know if that's a thing.
There's a couple of lines there, Stuart. The older you get, the damper you feel. But let's actually get back to why people are listening. So today we're talking about Apex being embedded in your website. So we've spent the last couple of months talking about how to develop apps in Apex. What can you do with your data? And we've, seen what you can do from a low code perspective, being able to use REST APIs. And now you're going to show us how to get more bang for your buck, that given you've got this capability happening, can I use it elsewhere? So ideally, it would be really good not just to talk about this from a theoretical perspective. It'd be really good to talk about it, in terms of how useful it is. So can you tell us about, what are you doing with Apex being embedded in a website, and a good example?
So I'll kick that one off because I think that's where we're headed, is that quite often you've got data in a database and you want to expose it. So creating an Apex app, you can create a website, that's great. But what happens if you already have a website and you want to put some of that data into the website? Now, there are lots of ways to do that. And Apex obviously will create you your own pages. But if you use things like embeds or iframes, if you know what they are, where you embed code from somewhere else, we now come up with these issues called cores, which is a cross-origin resource site issue. So basically a website in Chrome and Firefox and modern browsers do not let you copy code from other websites because it might be a threat. So they basically block it. And so what happens is, if you've got data in an Oracle database and you want to expose in your website, it actually becomes really messy to make that happen. So we've basically come up with a really simple way to get data from Apex and push it through to any website without having to worry about cores.
Yeah, I've had that experience as well. You feel like you've got a bit of momentum with what you're trying to do, and then suddenly there's all this other stuff I had not been aware of. And I know there's a couple of chaps I know have got a bit of experience with cores, people like David Reed and Kurt and a bunch of those guys. Yep. Those people tend to have much bigger brains than I have. So what do you do to overcome and not have to navigate that issue?
Well, like I say, it really distracts from the fact that if you've got some awesome data, then, you end up spending a lot more time fiddling with things like SSL certificates and domain names and all of that nonsense. So what I've done is I found a way to use, you've got your Apex data, so you use the capabilities to update your data. But we use a REST API that returns just pure HTML, and we can then embed that in a website. And the difference is you're not returning a whole web page, you're only returning HTML. So because you're not returning a web page, you don't suffer from the threats like scripts and HTML and things that can be injected in there. So that is all still possible, but given that you've got your own sort of control over what the data looks like. So basically I'm using REST to return, rather than JSON that we normally do, or CSV that we've done before, we just return pure HTML. And it's actually really quite straightforward. So I'll give you an example, if I might, Franco, because I'm just going to flick over to my screen here. So this if you can see my screen, this is one of the football, it's one of the websites I manage for the local community. This is our football website. Now, we've got a lot of problem with rain here, and the pitches are all wet and they're constantly opening and closing, and the councils actually manage which ones are closed and open. So what we wanted to do was be able to make this page somewhere where the players can come, or the managers, and see which grounds are open or closed. And what we've given is we've given the team, the committee members and the council, an app to be able to go and open and close any of the fields that they need. And so all of this data you see here is coming from the database. So whenever they update it, they've just got a simple mobile app that's just Apex, and it's on apex.oracle.com. And that's the thing. I haven't had to go and create free tier, or I could have done all of that, but I've just done this in apex.oracle.com. So this was my use case. The guys don't have to come in and edit WordPress, because this is a WordPress website. They literally just go and edit 5 different fields. They can add in a message, and this comes through automatically so that people know when the last time it was updated. So that's our use case for today.
Okay, cool. You can't show, so you've got a little Apex app for them to maintain,
Yeah,
where those fields are, and then whatever happens there will automatically be seen on this WordPress website.
exactly right. Yeah, absolutely.
And you made a couple of other really good points that I know Jason and I will have an opinion on. You know, so the idea is you're only bringing back formatted HTML instead of JSON or a report or a technology type. But what do you think of that, Jason?
I think it actually works quite well. And some of the things I've experienced this myself, where a third-party WordPress platform which was locked down, and there was no controls in terms of what you can and can't do. And putting an iframe in is something that is hideous in WordPress and some of these other sites. So this is fantastic to actually enable us to actually embed content and embed that data, and make that really simple. So I'm loving it.
And, you know, the other thing too is that gentle reminder, everything we're showing here today from Oracle is basically free. It takes literally a minute to get your apex.oracle.com capability up and going, and bang, you're productive and useful. Okay, so let's see a live demo here now, Stuart.
Okay, so I'm going to go from scratch. The only thing I already have is a website. So I've got my empty website. I'll show you if I do page source, you will be able to see it. So that's all it is. There's nothing in there. So really simple website. So I'm going to go from that to having live Apex data inside that web page. So I'm going to do this relatively quickly. I'm going to use some of the tricks that we've used in the past. I'm going to use quick SQL. So what I want to do is create a new table, and I want a message. I want maybe a status field where I can only have 0 and 1. I want it to automatically do a last updated and an updated by, so I can see that on my website where they come from. So I'm going to also insert a dummy record here. So we've seen quick SQL before. Again, if you've not seen that, go into the help and have a look at some of these samples. There's some really good ones. So I've created this one here, really simple. When I click this, it gives me my script over here. So we create the table and insert some dummy data. So what we're looking for is to get this Latin message up on our website. So I'll just save that.
I really like that, how, you know, you had those 2 columns, last updated and updated by, and it sort of worked out what you need. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm not going to create an app to manage this, although obviously we can if we've got enough time. So I've just created my create table, insert data, and so now when I go back to my object browser, we'll see I've just created a table called web data, which is here. And then
now, Stuart, I think I did pick up a little bit of an error there. Does it matter that updated by is also a date, or we can ignore that for now?
Did I make it a date? Did I? It doesn't matter at the moment, but
yeah, we can live without it.
Yeah, okay, it got spotted. That's interesting. Okay, so basically, there you go. There's my data, and of course, I can create an app to manage this now. So what I now want to do is be able to export that data. So I've created, went through this module before. So there's my message. So what I'm going to do is create a REST API, and this will be my URL to get that data out. So what I want to do. So I want to do that. This is the trick here. And again, when you're doing this, just watch out for this one. I'm selecting media resource as my source type. So this, if you select it as query or collection query, you'll get JSON come out, and you can set these things to CSV and all sorts. But what I've done is I've set it to media resource, which means I'm defining what the data type is. And you'll see here that I do that by just saying this is text HTML. So then I've created some HTML some formatting here. So there's my message from my table, my status field, which you remember I set to 0 or 1. Yeah. So there I'm decoding it. So I'm saying, well, 0 is off and 1 is on. And then I'm doing the last updated. So there's my date, nicely formatted. And you'll see I put some HTML. So those who are into CSS, HTML, and all those other things, when you embed this, you can inherit the classes from your website. So if you don't want to, you could quite easily put a style tag in here and call that colon hash 000. So if you wanted to, you could go and do some clever things with HTML. So I won't do that for now, and CSS. So we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, and you'll see here that right up here, it gives me that URL. So what I'll do now is I'm going to head over to my website. Okay, so you should be able to see my nice, this is a throwback to the olden days when we played green on black. And apologies for me using nano. I can't get to grips with that VI. I know. It's like using tabs and spaces.
Don't get me started.
So
I'm in shock.
So here is my simple website that we're going to do there, and I'll get rid of my silly message there. And now what I'm going to, here's the thing, that previously I've used an iframe here. And what I've found iframe does is it brings in the HTML tags and the body tags, which you actually don't really want. So there's a better HTML5 tag called embed. So what I'm going to do is type equals text / HTML, and it's always dangerous doing this.
And we picked up a couple picked up your coding mistake as well.
Where?
So get through this bit, back into the SQL.
Yeah, let's get Hello World up and going, and then we can improve it. but I totally love this sort of observation and engagement. That's exactly what this forum is for, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it's peer programming on steroids. Because you've not just got one person looking over your shoulder, you've got plenty of people.
And I've also had a few people independently suggest we should put Stuart on performance review because he hasn't got VI skills. So we'll work on that too.
Yeah, apologies for my lack of VI skills. It's never been my strong point, but I should learn it, I know. Okay, so I'm just going to go and get, what have I done here with my select statement? What's the mistake?
Oh, in the first div that you got there, you've actually got a double quote.
Oh yes, I left it in after I did the style. Yeah. And I've only got one.
That suggestion I suggested, put that double quote in to see if anyone picks it up, worked.
Yes, well spotted, you lot. Okay, so fingers crossed. There you go. There is my embedded message from Apex with my status decoded and a nicely formatted date in some American time format. So that was it. That's done. It worked.
That's good.
And thank you for the crowd participation to make sure that it actually worked properly.
Yes, everyone was
Okay,
away.
Stuart, can we actually just add one more column? I don't care what it is. In fact, let's get somebody to chuck in. If we were to add one more column from the audience, what column would it be? And then we'll get you to see how quickly we can make that change, whether it's recipe or health tip or something. So Raj or David Reed, just chuck in another suggested column name.
Oh, I saw Mark Lancaster's name in there. So if he wants to put a suggestion into the chat as well.
Yeah. Anyone, just chuck in a suggested column name. Come on, somebody.
Fox
Some data
Creek.
to put
Fox
in there.
Creek. Okay, so let's put in favorite. Just put in bike track. Yeah, favorite bike track.
Is that going to work?
Yes, that will work.
No.
Alter table.
Yeah, because I didn't put the
what was
table
it?
in. That's why. See.
Web data. Okay. Now, if that was me, I would have gone to the object browser and add that column. I gotta love Raj's comment. Doesn't Jason get a rest? That's very good.
No, not allowed to.
Okay. And so we've just, okay. So Stuart's showing off what he can do at the command line. Obviously, everyone, where you could do all of this via point and click via the object browser, as well as being able to knock up a quick app. But Stuart's now going to improve his REST API and include, we're seeing how long does it take to add that extra bit of information.
I'm on Franco's size screen, so what I'll do is I'll add it to the beginning. So we'll do, oops. So we're going to add the favorite bike track as a div. And we're doing quote, need to, actually I'll put an extra one in there. So it's on a separate line. And there we go. And then I'll just join that back up. There we go. So that should give me now the extra line by itself. So if I update that, now I'm not going to change the website this time. I'm literally just going to go and do a refresh. And there it is. So I didn't have to change the website. The website's now dynamic. So there you go. Dynamic data in a website with no cause issues. And for those that want to see what that looks like as in HTML, because it's interesting to see what it does actually bring, it doesn't show you. Interesting. Okay, so you can't actually see the HTML that it's created. So because it's an embed.
Yeah, it's likely that if you go into developer mode, then you should be able to see that as well.
But if you do that as an iframe, it basically you'll see like tags of HTML.
Stu, can you increase the size of your, go from 100%? That's it. Thanks.
Because Raj wants to make sure that you actually did it properly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That's so basically
and the difference is that the URL is oraclecloudapps.com, whereas I'm using with oracle.cloud, so I don't suffer with the cause issues.
Actually, that's really good.
So just explain that to me again. Why don't we suffer the cause issues?
Because we're not bringing through a web page, we're only bringing through HTML. So if it was a web page, cause would go from 2 different domains. You can't do that. So you have to configure all your headers and your HTML to be able to accept the cross-origin site. So it's actually it's really painful to go through that process to do it. I
Totally.
mean, look, that's the
Yeah.
proper way to do it and is the best way to do it. But when you don't, like I'm using apex.oracle.com for that other website. So I didn't need to set up any domain names or certificates. I'm just using apex.oracle.com. So
Great.
it's,
So
well.
you've actually shown us a lot today. There's the reminder. Do you want to just go to apex.oracle.com?
Sure.
Just bring that up as a separate URL. So just a reminder to everyone, don't forget, the fastest, quickest, simplest way is for you to make that screen bigger for us again. If you go to apex.oracle.com, you click on sign in for us, Stuart. And when you go to sign in, there should be a little pull down thing that says request a workspace. And then all you need to do is click on that. Yeah, you've done that. So then there's that request a workspace. So within a couple of minutes, you've got your own apex.oracle.com. And yes, this is actually running on an autonomous database. The other option is to go to your always free approach, where you will get 2 autonomous databases, two AMD compute VMs, and I think it's 8 ARM VMs, and a heap of storage and a load balancer for free for the rest of your life. And then Stuart, once he was in Apex, he showed us how he got something up and going using Quick SQL. And then as part of the Apex environment, he showed us how to REST API enable that. And we learned that instead of using a web page, if we could just deliver a HTML fragment using that media resource backdoor, that would actually be the best way to embed that capability there. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually answering a question that Rick actually put into the chat around the security, and I'll just mention it here as opposed to typing. I'm loving this, and as part of the REST APIs, you can actually secure and manage the roles and the privileges against these APIs. So it can be as open or as locked down as you need to, especially from when you want to secure the data and the representation that you got here.
And you can also add this origins allowed. So yeah. I could have put the with oracle.cloud as the origin in here as well. So you can be a bit more, so you can set up security, absolutely right. And I've made this one pretty open, to be honest.
And so let me ask the question there. So when you see that thing that says with origins allowed, so that's where the actual request for your REST API will originate from. Is that the idea, Stuart?
Yes, exactly. So what I would do is to put with oracle.cloud for the instance that I've got here. So I'm not using that, but it means that only that website can use this REST API. Or that, sorry, any website on this domain. Yeah, we're circumventing some of that by kind of doing what we've done, but essentially, yes, this starts to lock down where that API can be used.
Okay.
And that's over and above what I've got here with can you see this protected by privilege? So what I can do here is go and basically add privileges to this. Although I can never remember where to do it, but I mean, you obviously got some privileges that we can set in here. So we can start to create, and I know David Reed has done a lot of work on using some of the privileges that we've got here. So if people want to explore that, then obviously as part of my embed, we just need to make sure we've got that security enabled.
And all those security are using the out of the box OAuth client methods to actually then create the privileges and apply the roles to those particular resources that we've got there.
Cool.
So it's nice and easy.